It's a title fight, and you always got to go in this mindset. Before the fight starts, Alexa Grasso has the edge. She's the champion. She's already winning the fight. That's why when it's a draw, she still wins. The champion always has the edge because you have to dethrone the champ. And I don't think Valentina Shevchenko did enough to dethrone Alexa Grasso. For people on the internet to be really upset that Valentina was robbed, I don't think so. I don't think Valentina was robbed at all. She didn't do enough where it was that clear that she won the fight. You got to dethrone the champ. You got to take away that belt. Valentina had to do enough. Like, she had to make it clear as water that she won that fight, and she didn't. If it's not clear as water, don't be upset that you didn't win. And for people on the internet to be upset that it was a robbery, bro, it wasn't a robbery. That fight was close. Hey guys, welcome to the False Line Podcast here with episode 163. I'm wearing my Cowboys stuff, my shirt. I don't got my jersey on because Spider-Man's wearing it. But, as long as the boys keep winning, I'll keep repping. Big dub today. But anyways, we had UFC Fight Night last night. Very controversial ending. Not bad of a fight card. I was really happy. I know I was a little worried that it might have been a little boring, but I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot, and a lot of good fights. I'm only going to talk about the 3 fights, that we had. Or the last 3 fights, just because, I don't want to speak too much about what I don't know, and like the guys that are fighting and I'm not too familiar with them. So, let's get right into it, guys. All right, so we'll start with Raul Rosas. Raul Rosas, I thought he was going to lose. I thought he was going to get beat up. I thought he was going to kind of get manhandled a little bit, and I was wrong. I got a lot of hate on Instagram for posting that clip about Raul Rosas. People were defending him, rightfully so, but it was my opinion. It's just how I felt. It's what I thought. But the fight came out just blazing hot, just people throwing bombs, or Terrence and Raul were just throwing bombs. And he caught Terrence Mitchell and just took him down and then grounded pounded, and that was it. The fight was over. But coming into the fight, I was like, Raul Rosas is just too young. He doesn't have that experience. The last 2 fights in the UFC, he's just kind of been wrestling. And then the last one, it was just sloppy. The last fight he had, which he lost. And this fight coming in, I was like, well, if he comes in the same, with that same like mindset or take like style, what is it called? Like, I guess coming out just to wrestle, and not mix it up. And I was like, if he comes out like that, like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that type of style of fighting. And then I'm just like, you're not going to win, But he came out and he switched it up. And I'm surprised that he didn't go for a takedown at all. He just started swinging. We haven't seen that part of Raul Rosas, and he has the power to put somebody down. Clearly. And he put Terrence out like just blank. So I was impressed. I was really impressed, and I was a little shocked. I was like, damn, like, this dude, he has power. He has knockout power. And it was against a decent opponent, at least for Raul Rosas. And being at that age, 18, I was 18 once, and I don't know. I'm sure he's built different. He got a way different mindset than I did when I was 18. But as far as like strength and endurance, like all that, that goes behind an athlete, I'm just like, when you're fighting somebody that's in their 20s or even like early 30s, like, you're in your prime, you're the strongest, the healthiest, and at 18, you're kind of just entering that realm, of growing up and your muscles growing and everything like that, right? So I'm sure there's a science behind it. So that's why I'm just like, nah, Raul Rosas is just gonna he's not gonna be enough, But he showed us otherwise, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he was able to do that, and he's gonna stick around in the UFC, and hopefully, he really picks solid opponents. Don't try and jump the gun. Don't try and jump the ladder, or just don't. Take your time on this. You're just 18 years old. You have a long way to go in the UFC. So, I'm not sure what kind of names are there for him. but don't fight nobody crazy. Just take a step up. A little step up, a different challenge, a different style of fighter. And just get used to being in the octagon. In the UFC and having fans there and people rooting for you, because like I said, at that age, there's just so many factors outside the ring. And individually, like, doesn't matter what the age, but just being that young, I don't know. It's different. It's very unpredictable. What can happen. I'm sure he'll be unpredictable. He'll be a whole different person, 3-4 years from now. So we'll see. Now, for his career wise, I just hope that he has a good. I know he switched up. I want to say he changed camps this last fight, but I really hope that he can. He has good people around him, because there will be people that is going to try to take advantage of him, money wise, friend wise, everything, being, like I said, being at that age. And hopefully he has good people around him that can protect him and that can just mentor him to make the best decisions for him. Staying healthy, making sure he's not maybe partying too much, making sure that he's on his training all the time, making sure that he doesn't get too confident, right? Where he starts ignoring his own flaws, or things that he needs to work on. And hopefully he has that mindset where he wants to keep getting better and he recognizes the little mistakes that he has, and points them out to himself, or they get pointed, or he gets told, like, hey, you need to work on this, and he listens. So hopefully he has, a good mind, a healthy mind, and wants to grow and wants to be a better fighter, because if he does, then I mean, who knows what he can be capable of. He can definitely be one of those people that we see now at 18 and be in the UFC for a long time and then just kind of be the face of the UFC and be that big name, in like maybe 5 to 7 years, or maybe even like 5 years. I don't know. We don't know what the future has for him, but it's bright. It's really bright. And, hopefully he just doesn't go like on a dark, on the negative side, because again, I've been a soccer fan. I watch football players, soccer players, at 18, 19 years old, and they have this crazy potential to be one of the best. And there's names out there now that, they just partied, they got into trouble, and that's just, they never really reached their full potential. And I don't want that to happen to Raul Rosas, So hopefully, again, stays healthy, doesn't get hit too much in the head, and just has good people around him. So, yeah. Now we had Kevin Holland against Jack. That fight was, I don't know, man. I had mixed. That fight was a little weird. It was a little, I don't want to use the word boring, but it was just not as exciting. I think Kevin Holland recognized Jack's power, and he got caught with a few shots, and I think Kevin Holland wasn't able to do what he is used to doing, and that kind of threw his game plan a little bit, because he did look slightly off. But I remember early on he got caught a few times, and I was like, he's gonna respect Jack, and he's gonna, not close the distance too fast, because he's gonna get caught, and he did. Now for Jack, he just couldn't get too close to Kevin, without getting caught with something. So he tried his best to close his distance. The fight was 50-50 for me. I would have been happy with either of those guys winning, but this guy Jack, his 6th fight in a row in the UFC that he's won. So, Kevin's not one of those guys who wants to fight the best every time, and he's not trying to fight for a belt every time. He wants to go out there and fight. He thought he won the fight. I personally thought he won the fight. And for Jack, he'll just have to fight somebody better, and Kevin was a good test, but it's just like, man, that's a division. Hey, when you get up there in those rankings, those are some scary names, and I think I would love to see this guy Kevin fight. I want to say Ian Gary's in that same division. Let me check, because that fight would be good. Let me check. Yeah, Jack. I think Jack. Even if he fought like Neil Magny, Ian Gary, or Vincent, someone up there. Even like Stephen Thompson. You're getting real close, but getting to the point where, Kevin takes that next leap and fights someone higher in the rankings, maybe even top 10, and we'll see what he can do now. I don't think he can compete with those guys as far as now. But we'll see. I think on this fight he learned a lot about himself and about the division and how from now on those fights they're probably going to go to distance most of the time, or someone's going to get knocked out, and they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. So not a big fan of Jack, but I do wish him the best. I hope he does good. And I'm excited to see them fight. And by the way, guys, this is recently now that started focusing on UFC and focusing on just UFC fights, and I'm watching as many fights as I can all the time, every Saturday, watching UFC Fight Night or whatever's going on, and just trying to learn. That's it. So I'm doing my best to put out the best content. Now, let's talk about Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. This fight was very controversial at the end. But the fight itself, I was happy that it was an exciting fight. And because I was like, man, I don't want this fight to be boring, and it could have gone that way. But both fighters came out there to fight. And one thing that I noticed right away, watching throughout the whole fight, the first thing I thought about, I was like, this fight is so similar to the first fight. It was so similar. It was almost watching like the first fight, and in some sequences it felt that way. But Valentina came out is like I thought she was, the aggressor, being real aggressive. And Alexa looked good. She looked so much better than their last fight. I know they look similar, but I mean, like I said, there were sequences that looked the same, but she looked a lot better, and I was definitely impressed. And I was like, after the fight, I kind of do feel like it's Alexa's time right now, and Valentina just couldn't get it done. And we'll talk more about that in a second, but I was really impressed how Alexa came out. She looked so much better, and no one's really talking about that, like how much better she did look compared to the last fight. She dropped Valentina, and that was a big deal. I can't remember the times when Valentina's been dropped. I want to say it was the second time ever. I want to say I read that somewhere, but I know it hasn't been many times. So for Alexa to go in there and then drop her, I want to say it was the second round. It was a big deal. And I mean, Valentina took it like a champ, and she still fought till the end. But very impressed with Alexa. She caught Valentina a lot of times, and Alexa got caught too. But that happened the first fight. And, to see how much Alexa has progressed from the last fight to this fight, whoever she fights next, I mean, she should and probably most likely will look better. And it's like, well, we might see a dominant champ here for a while. So hopefully that's what happens. Now at the end, when we're going to talk about the scorecards a little bit, I gave Valentina the first round. I gave Valentina the third round. And Alexa, I gave Alexa 2, 4, and 5. Now, going into the fifth round, I wasn't too, I wasn't convinced with Alexa. I was like, fuck, man, I feel like Alexa needs a really big round to win this fight, like a huge round. And the round's going and we're 1 minute in, no action from Alexa. And now we're like 2 minutes in, I'm getting real frustrated. I'm like, come on, like do something, throw something, like show something where, you're a threat. You're putting Valentina in danger, for the judges can give you the round. And then I forgot how the sequence happens, but Valentina makes a mistake. Alexa capitalizes and almost finds a way to take her back, get her neck, and tap her out. But with Alexa taking her back, she did the ground and pound game, and just kind of beat her up, and she kind of finished the round really strong. I think she won the round, and that kind of gave her the edge to not necessarily win the fight, but Valentina was winning that fight going into the fifth round, in my opinion. And I know that I gave, and it was like 2-2, but I mean, if I had to pick, I'm like, well, I understand that it was 2-2, but I kind of gotta, it's still like, 2 rounds each. But if I had to pick one at that point, I want to say Valentina had the edge going into the fifth round. Now you go into the fifth round, in my opinion, Valentina won the first 2 minutes of that round. And then, the last 3 minutes, it was Alexa. Like, that fight was that fucking close. Like, it was a close fight. Like, it was, I don't know, it was neck and neck. And at the end, we get the decision, and it's a draw. And I was like, fuck. Like, I was not expecting the draw, but I thought it was the best. It was probably, in my, I ain't no judge. I don't know, right? But in my opinion, it was probably the best decision. The draw. I don't think Valentina, at the end of the fifth round, I don't think she did enough to become the champion. Now Alexa, I don't think she did enough to win the fight as well and keep the belt. I mean, obviously she kept the belt, but to lose the fight, I don't think she did enough to win the fight. But she also didn't. She also kind of didn't lose the fight. And I say that now that it was a draw. And if Valentina would have won, I don't know how I would have felt. But if Alexa would have won, I probably would have been like, I don't know if they should have gave it to her. And I think if it was Valentina winning or a draw, I think that made more sense. But, this is one of those fights where you probably got to watch 2 or 3 times to understand who really won the fight, With commentary, with the fans and all that stuff, it does impact the fight, when you're watching it in real time. Because there's fights that I watch over and over, and I change my mind about them. And this is one of those fights where you kind of most likely got to watch this fight 2 or 3 times to know who won the fight. So, the only thing about the decision was that one judge who gave it a 10-8 on the 5th round for Alexa, and that was a little outrageous. I was a little surprised by that. I think I'm not sure how the scorecard works. I don't know if it would have been like a 9-8 or if it would have been like a 10-9. I don't know, but it shouldn't have been 2 points. It should have just been like a 1 point difference. Like I said, I don't really know how it works. To technical terms or like definition terms, I really don't. But I understand that margin is like, well, a 10-8, like it wasn't a 10-8 fight like for Alexa. If anything, I want to say the way you would do it is like a 9-8 if I'm not mistaken. But that round was a lot closer. It was probably the closest round of the whole fight. I know round 4 was hella close too. But again, guys, like this was a tight fight. And it's a title fight. And you always got to go in this mindset. Before the fight starts, Alexa Grasso has the edge. She's the champion. She's already winning the fight. That's why when it's a draw, she still wins. So she still wins. She's ahead. Valentina's behind. I understand when the fight happens, anything could happen. But in reality is the champion always has the edge. A side always has the edge, like always, especially if you're the champ. Because you have to dethrone the champ. And I don't think Valentina Shevchenko did enough to dethrone Alexa Grasso. And I'm pretty sure a small portion, that affects the decision is, well, like if Valentina's champion, like what kind of happens or what do we do with the division? So maybe there's a little bit of politics involved. I don't know. But for people on the internet to be really upset that Valentina was robbed, I don't think so. I don't think Valentina was robbed at all. She didn't do enough where it was that clear that she won the fight, And on Alexa's side, she looked better than she did the last fight. So I think she had a good fight, but she definitely should have done better, for her to win the fight. I was upset how she fought the first 2 minutes of the 5th round. And I think she could have done a little bit more on that 4th round as well. So she has some work to do. But for Valentina to be upset and for people to be upset, I'm like, guys, she's a champion. Alexa's a champion. You got to dethrone the champ. You got to take away that belt. It's not like, hey, like, you kind of won. It looks like you won, so we'll give it to you. Like, no. Like, you got to clearly win the fight. And people are going to be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And this is just all my opinion, but I'm just like, Valentina had to do enough. Like, she had to make it clear as water that she won that fight. And she didn't. If it's not clear as water, don't be upset that you didn't win. And for people on the internet to be upset that it was a robbery, bro, it wasn't a robbery. That fight was close. Fight was close. So for people to be saying it's a robbery, I'm just like, nah, man. But yeah, like I said, I was surprised with the whole card. Like I was worried that it was gonna be a little boring, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. That was really good. I'm really excited for this UFC fight night coming out. We got Fiziev fighting, um, and I'll be looking forward to that. Giving some predictions. But this next episode that I'm working on, guys, that's why this episode is probably a little dry. But the one coming out on Friday, I promise you guys, that's gonna be a banger. It's gonna cause a lot of people mixed emotions, and I'm excited to talk about it. You know, I already started doing a little bit of homework today, and I'll be watching a lot of fights this week because I gotta make a really good argument, and I'm really excited for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend, enjoyed the fight. I hope your team won. I'm sorry if you had to play if you were a Jets fan, but yeah, I hope the Cowboys, man, the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, please, get better. Our defense is A1. But yeah, exciting weekend. The Colorado game was fun. I don't like talking about too much about football because it kind of ruins my what is it called? Not a lot. I don't get many views on talking about that stuff. Just about UFC. But anyways, guys, sorry for dragging this, but I'll see you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And let me know if I should be talking about anything else. Peace.